Welcome to Northern Nights. Gather around the campfire as we share three captivating stories of mysterious sightings from across Scandinavia. First, we'll journey back to the 1960s in Norway, where an elderly woman recalls a strange encounter she and her husband had on Byrkjefjell during one of their mountain hikes. Next, we'll visit Koskenkylä, Finland, in June 2024, where two friends taking a break from yard work witness a bright object moving across the sky, turning an ordinary evening into something extraordinary. Finally, we'll head to Stenløse, Denmark in 2008. A land surveyor, Esben Schmidt Sørensen, describes his thrilling experience of seeing two unidentified flying objects in the night sky. Join us as we dive into these mysterious tales. The strange encounter at Byrkjefjell. Many years ago, a woman shared with me a peculiar story about an experience she and her husband had during one of their many mountain hikes in the Bergen area. This story has stuck with me for a long time, and I recently reached out to her in February and March 2011 to refresh my memory of the details. After several conversations to ensure accuracy, I wrote down her account as she remembers it, approximately 40 to 48 years later. The woman is now elderly, but still in good health, though her husband passed away many years ago. The event occurred on Byrkjefjell, north of County Road 7 in Kvamskogen, Hordaland, between Norheimsund and Hardanger and Tissa. It likely took place in the mid-1960s to early 1970s, but the exact date is hard to pinpoint. The couple were avid hikers, often heading to the mountains every Sunday, making it difficult to isolate this specific trip. One Sunday, they decided to hike to Byrkjefjell. It was a warm and sunny summer day, possibly in June. The woman wore a sun top, and there was very little snow left on the mountain. They started their hike a bit past the Wallamtunet cabin, taking a less conventional route with no clear path, climbing between large rocks and underbrush. Reaching the top, where the terrain was barren of trees or shrubs, they saw something unusual that initially appeared to be the work of scouts. However, they soon realized it was something else entirely. On the bare mountaintop, they found a stone altar constructed with stones at the front and a slab at the back. It measured about 40 to 50 centimeters wide. On this altar was some ash and what seemed to be a burnt offering, possibly of twigs. Atop the ash was an unusually large, bright red apple, which the woman noted seemed too big to be Norwegian. Nearby, they found another stone slab set like a table with a large trout, about 30 to 35 centimeters long, lying on it. The trout looked fresh and untouched, except for some surface dryness from the sun. Around the table were several small pieces of paper weighed down by stones, and a number of neatly cut bundles of fresh twigs, possibly birch, tied with what looked like horsehair. The couple then saw a snow-covered slope with a large, perfect circle in the snow, approximately 12 to 15 meters in diameter, with a bright blue ring around the edge. In the center of this circle was another large red apple, similar to the one on the altar, but even bigger. There were no footprints or other signs of human activity around the circle or the altar, aside from the tracks of another hiker they briefly saw. Feeling uneasy, the husband suggested they leave immediately. They fled back to their car, deeply disturbed by what they had seen. They shared their story with a few people, but no one believed them. The husband attempted to contact a UFO association in Bergen to investigate further, but bad weather prevented any follow-up. They later learned that another man from a nearby village had reported seeing the same circle to the UFO association, but his identity remained unknown. A small note about the incident appeared in the local newspaper, Bergen's Tidende. The woman described her late husband as a very down-to-earth person, and she herself is known to be honest and grounded. Despite the strangeness of the encounter, the woman's recollection remains vivid, even after more than 40 years. This story, though not directly related to UFOs, contains elements that are intriguing and worth sharing. Both the observer and the storyteller wish to remain anonymous. A UFO sighting in Koskenkylä. On the evening of June 13th, 2024, just around 7 p.m. in Koskenkylä, Finland. My friend and I were busy carrying old wood from the garden to a trailer when we decided to take a well-deserved break, settling into the patio chairs in the yard. As we sat there enjoying the early evening, something unusual caught my eye. Almost directly above us, I noticed a bright object moving steadily across the sky. Curious, I pointed it out to my friend. He had to lean over the table to get a glimpse of it because the yard tree was partially blocking his view. The object was incredibly high up, moving at a constant speed. What struck me was how its brightness would intensify for a few seconds before returning to its usual glow. This cycle continued, making the object even more fascinating. To get a better look, I decided to move around the patio, dodging the treetops. I asked my friend if he had a pair of binoculars. He mentioned they were in the car, so I dashed to the other end of the house, grabbed the binoculars from the door compartment, and quickly returned to the patio. Through the binoculars, the object's shape became clearer. It resembled a long crystal glass in a chandelier, shimmering against the evening sky. By then, the object had moved further, but I could see that the lower part seemed to glow brightly and intermittently, while the upper part remained dark, perhaps black or gray. The sight was mesmerizing, but it was gradually moving away, blending into the sky until it was no longer distinguishable. We were left in awe, pondering what we had just witnessed. Despite the strange encounter, we soon resumed our task of loading the trailer, though the image of that mysterious object lingered in our minds. This unexpected sighting made an ordinary evening quite extraordinary, leaving us with questions and a sense of wonder about what we had seen in the sky over Koskenkylä. Amateur astronomer's intriguing observation. On July 27, 2008, Esben Schmidt Sørensen, a 62-year-old land surveyor from Stenløse, had an extraordinary experience. Here's his account. On July 27, 2008, at 1:50 a.m., I noticed two stars aligned vertically beneath the right side of Pegasus, distracting me from observing Jupiter and its moons. I quickly realized that there shouldn't be two bright stars at that location, almost as bright as Vega. I ruled out planets and considered photographing them. However, within 15 seconds, both lights vanished with irregular light variations, as if clouds passed in front, yet there were no clouds in the sky. It dawned on me, causing considerable hair-raising, that these were neither stars, satellites, nor comets, but two UFOs. The lights were precisely vertical, at a distance comparable to half the distance from Altair to its nearest neighboring star. The observation lasted about 2 minutes, with the lights remaining stationary. I estimate their position at R23.850 D 9 degrees 21 minutes, corresponding to the star 80 Peg. On follow-up questions about the observation, Esben added, the two lights stayed in the same position throughout the observation. I watched them continuously for about 2 minutes, pondering what phenomenon this could be and whether I should attempt to photograph it. The sky was clear, and the lights did not move either relative to each other or collectively. It took over an hour for the hairs on the back of my neck to settle down. Perhaps there's a mundane explanation. I don't seek out UFOs and am not part of any related organization, so this was a random observation. Esben promptly reported his sighting to the SUFOI, Scandinavian UFO Information website. Unfortunately, due to some issues with the archive system, his report was not recorded at the time. Esben then contacted SUFOI again about the incident. He speculated on potential explanations. I've reported my observation again, hoping you might have information to support the sighting and perhaps explain it. I've considered weather balloons or similar objects, but vertically aligned, not moving, and disappearing in such a strange way as if clouds passed by. Another report from Bjørnstrup near Kalundborg at around 2 a.m. described a white light in the sky that nearly collided with a passenger plane. This light moved from west to east in about 1 to 2 minutes, which doesn't match the stationary lights observed in Stenløse. As mentioned earlier, the archive system issues meant that this observation was also not automatically recorded. Esben has since archived his observation in the American UFO database, NUFORC, where he also noted a local simultaneous power outage. Esben added, the event was significant, and there must be a couple of pilots who, if they are Danish, would be interested in seeing a report on the incident. Several reports were filed on that date, but there are no direct correlations in timing, and another observation reported from Næstved also doesn't seem immediately linked to the Stenløse sighting. There is no astronomical explanation for what was observed about 35 degrees up in the southeastern sky. The only nearby planet, Uranus, cannot be observed in this manner. The moon was low in the eastern sky, and Jupiter was low on the southern southwestern horizon. The report has circulated among Danish amateur astronomers to narrow down an explanation. Sufoi asked Esben if the lights moved and if the sky was clear, trying to rule out possibilities such as the International Space Station, ISS, with a shuttle or a Russian supply rocket. However, this doesn't seem to fit, as such objects typically exhibit noticeable movement. Various specific satellite data have been checked, but satellite-related explanations do not seem immediately plausible. Small luminous hot air balloons would generally be seen moving against a starry sky. Similarly, two airplanes with landing lights on, flying one above the other in a turn and heading towards the observer in Stenløse, might appear relatively stationary for a short period before the lights fade due to the turn. However, hot air balloons would not remain completely stationary, especially with the clear starry sky providing a visible backdrop. Airplanes, even when appearing to hover briefly, would eventually show movement or change in light due to their trajectory and speed. Given these factors, these alternatives seem unlikely to account for the observed phenomenon. Do any listeners have explanations or additional information that could shed light on this observation? Thanks for joining us on this journey through mysterious sightings across Scandinavia. We hope these stories have intrigued and captivated your imagination. If you enjoyed these tales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Northern Nights for more extraordinary encounters and unexplained phenomena. We'd love to hear your thoughts and any experiences you might want to share. Leave a comment below and join the conversation. Until next time, keep looking up and stay curious.